Hi there, I'm Tyler and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to install pavers like a pro. Big thank you to Night Eyes for sponsoring this video. Check them out using the link down in the description below. So I know this isn't a woodworking video, and if you missed that, you can check a link down in the description below to a playlist of all of the DIYTyler woodworking videos. I've done a lot of pavers in my time, and I thought I would share the process of doing this front patio paver set in front of our new addition. We also have a couple other landscaping things in there, so hope you enjoy. So this is the situation outside before we got anything started or moving. We've been using these single brick paver sidewalk thingies for the past couple of months, and it is finally dry enough to do a proper upgrade. Here are the things that we are going to do. Right over here we have a downspout that we're going to connect to a drain that is running out to the road. It's somewhere over here. We got to dig that up. Then over here we're going to dig this out, and we're going to put in some 21 AA base. And then we're going to put some compacting sand on top of that so we can do a proper roughly 10 by 10 patio right here. Then we're going to do some tiered beds, and in those tiers we will put some flowers so we have a beautiful front entrance for any guests that come to our home. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we got quite a bit of digging to do, A, for the drain, and B, for the paver patio itself. Now, I understand that not everyone is going to have a drain to put in, so you can skip ahead if you would like to get to just the paver section. You can find that at about 3 minutes of this video. But I was able to use my dad's Kubota backhoe tractor to save me a lot of sweat and time in digging out all of this dirt. For the drain portion, I'm going to be using some sewer and drain pipe and fittings, as it is quite a bit cheaper and there will be no heavy equipment that drives over this and risk breaking that pipe, so I opted to go with the cheaper fittings. I just glued them all together, made sure I had proper slope away from the gutter, and connected to the pipe, which was right underneath the existing sidewalk. Once I had all of those fittings together appropriately, I backfilled a little bit with some dirt and then brought the machine back in to quickly fill in the area to cover up the pipe and to begin digging out for the paver section. Obviously, having the machine saves a ton of time, but it doesn't get you to everything, so you still have to grab a shovel and a rake and do a little bit of work on your own. The kids helped me lay out where the paver is going to go, and it is roughly 10 by 10. It's a little bit less than that. It's probably about 9 foot towards the door side and about 8.5 feet towards the sidewalk. So I laid that out so that we knew where to dig, and then I used the backhoe to scrape out about 4 to 6 inches of dirt, and then with the front bucket, move that dirt to the back of the property. And then it was back to the shovel and rake to get those areas that I couldn't get with the machine, and a little bit of raking to get the surface slope that I was after. Okay, so I got this thing raked pretty smooth and kind of to the surface that I'm after. Now that we got this down to the base, the next steps are we're going to put some landscape fabric down, and then we're going to put in a couple inches of 21 AA base. Now, if this was a brand new construction, you probably want to do somewhere between like 4 and 8 inches of base, but I know that this stuff has already been backfilled with 21 AA when we did the new addition construction. So I've got this to pretty much the surface that I want. Landscape fabric will put down the 21 AA, and that 21 AA is what we want to make sure we have the right slopes and surfaces on there to make the water drain properly. And we want to make sure that the water slopes this way and out onto the driveway away from the house. So 21 AA is surprisingly heavy, and I was only able to get about a half a yard in my pickup. Now, I did get one of those sweet roll-off crank thingies from Harbor Freight for about 35 bucks. So basically, I have a dump truck right now. If this thing works, it'll be the best 35 bucks I've ever spent. Also, the camera does pretty good at making it look rather bright out here, but it is getting dark, so I've headed up with my Night Eyes headlamp so we can keep rocking, because I need to drive my truck to work tomorrow, and I can't be having crushed stone in the back. It's straining, but it's working. It always cracks me up how I never noticed a brand until someone brings it to my attention. Even car types, I don't even notice them until someone brings it up to my attention, and then I suddenly see them everywhere. It's kind of like these Night Eyes gear ties. I never knew they existed until Night Eyes reached out to me, and now I see them everywhere at all the different box stores and hardware stores, and let me tell you, they have some handy little products ranging from the gear ties, the headlamp that I'm wearing right now, and even some carabiners that will help you carry paint cans and whatnot. Big thanks to Night Eyes for sponsoring this video, and be sure to keep your eyes peeled, and let me tell you, you will see them in the store next time you're there. Once I could see everything around me again, I got out the rake and touched up a few areas and checked with the level to make sure I had all of the proper slope. And then for a primary run with the hand compactor over this material to make sure that we had everything pretty much set so that I could walk around it without disturbing it and put in the tiered beds which will hold the flowers. These are just retaining wall bricks that I laid in place in a slight curve pattern and then went over them with the hand compactor to make sure I had everything level. Then it was on for a second layer and then onto a second tier, which I don't really show because it is just the same process. So I got the 21 AA base all set. I do have the tiers in place. I showed you that one, but that one was pretty much the same thing, but looking pretty sharp over there. But this is what we're after. We want kind of fine compactable gravel on top. And what we have over there is a little bit too big. So now I'm going to spread a thin layer, 1/2 inch to 1 inch of compacting sand, I guess also known as paver sand. And this will ensure that we get all of the top lips of the pavers smooth and together. What do you think? You like that, huh? Now we went over everything with the hand compactor. Now you might be surprised how little that actually does. Rain is honestly one of the best things to get that 21 AA and compacting sand compacted, but if you don't have rain in the forecast, you can always make your own rain by using a hose. Give it a good soak down or leave the sprinkler on for a couple of hours, maybe overnight, and then make sure that it is all surfaced the way that you want it still, and then you're pretty much ready for pavers. And then we'll just do a row, another row, 2 this way. So basically we have this little square pattern every time. For our pavers, we're using a beige tumble stone, and it is roughly 4.5 by 7 inch bricks, but this process is the same for any different brick that you will use. It will just be a slight different pattern. I got the crew out there working hard to help me move all of those bricks off the trailer to where they are in easy reach for me to lay them in place. You want to keep the hand compactor nearby to make sure you can pat down any stones that might creep up, and I always like to keep a small hand trowel nearby so that I can scrape away any dirt and use it as a hammer to tap any bricks into place that might be a little bit more finicky. You can also use a brick itself, but you run a slight risk of cracking these. Now, this is one of the first few times in ever making all of these videos that I have not turned on my microphone and continued on obliviously. But I guess we don't really need sound because I can make it up right here. It is just more of the same. A nice heel on my Carolina boots allows me to keep all of the lines nice and straight. And the kids were fantastic helping me move all of this material. It is not easy. Now I do want to say I did a pretty doggone good job of keeping everything nice and square. You just want to make sure all of your lines stay straight with each layer that you carry on so you don't get yourself too out of skew. Right here I had some profound information to share with you guys, but of course the microphone was off. What I was explaining is that I'm using the level based off the reference lines of the previous brick layers to line up these first bricks. Now I'm doing this so that I can lay everything perfectly in line with each other and then come back and cut those smaller portions, and I can cut those smaller portions to whatever we need. If we did it the other way around, cutting the small angle and then working our way from there, we could throw off the entire continuous layers from there. Now to cut those bricks, I used my rev mark to mark everything out and then moved over to the rigid tile saw to cut them down. Yes, this is a tile saw, but it works fantastic on these landscaping bricks. It made quick work of cutting all of these tiny little pieces down. For the portions where I had a weird inside angle and I couldn't get the full depth of the blade, I would whack it with a hammer to break the angle off, and then use the claw to chip out anything that would prevent me from getting a good seat from that brick. We did have one full layer of bricks that had to be cut down, and this was the bricks that was cutting up against the foundation of the house. The trick here is to flip the brick 180 degrees vertically, so don't turn it horizontally, flip it 180 degrees vertically, and then you can mark that line out based on the bricks you have in place, make your cut, flip the brick back over and put your cut up against the wall, and you should have everything nice and snug and perfectly aligned. Once all your bricks are in, it's back to the hand compactor to pat everything down and make sure all the tops of those bricks are flush with each other. Look how cute my little daughter is over there dancing to daddy's music. To lock all of these bricks together and make sure they don't shift, I'm going to be using some play sand. Dump it out over the surface area. If it is wet, let it dry a little bit and then use a push broom to sweep it into the cracks. You will be surprised how much material actually goes into these cracks, and you will have to go back over them a couple times. Once you have all the sand in, it's a good idea to go back over with the compactor because it will shift the bricks around a little bit, and then you can sweep in even more sand. But here we go, it is finished. It is looking great, it is sloped beautifully, and it is a wonderful finish to the front of the house. Well, that is a wrap, and we couldn't be more pleased with how the front landscaping is looking so far. I gotta get to trimming these hedges, and it looks like the weather is finally clearing in Michigan so that I can get to that for a couple days in a row. My favorite part of this whole project is right over here. There was a couple cuts along the angle of the concrete, and they came out perfect. I love it when things work out like that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hammer that thumbs up button. Helps us out a ton and helps get this video in front of more eyes. I'm DIYTyler, and you guys have a good one.